Hi, boys and girls. So last week we read a new story. We read A Special Welcome, and today I'm going to reread the story to you and with you, and then we're going to do the workbook, at least one workbook page, and then we'll do the other workbook page tomorrow. Okay? So it's called A Special Welcome. If you need to pause to get your book, we're on page 41. Just read along with me. I'm just going to read the whole story, and then we'll do one of the workbook pages today. Okay, it's called A Special Welcome by Eileen Berry, illustrated by Keith Neely. And the first part is called Waiting for the Baby. Papa bent over Marta's bed. Mama and I are going, sleepy girl, he said. But Abuela, remember that's Grandma, is here. Be a big girl and help her as much as you can. Marta sat up so fast that her bed seemed to spin. Going? To have the baby? She asked. Now, you need to read that with some excitement, just like I did, right? Because she didn't wake up and go, going to have the baby? No way. She was excited, right? So when we read things like that, we need to read with expression, and we need to read that like we think she might have said it. Even in the dark, she thought Papa was smiling. I'm sure he was. Yes, he said, we are going to the hospital. It's time for the baby. Marta rubbed her eyes. Is it time to get up? Papa patted her hand. No, go back to sleep, he said. It will be a while. When the baby is born, you can come to the hospital. Next page. Marta could not go back to sleep. The day I have waited for is here, she thought. When Marta heard Grandma clattering pans, she leapt up from her bed. She ran to Grandma. Abuela, the big day is here, she said. The baby will be born today. Grandma hugged her. Yes, Marta, but not yet. Let's set the table. Do we have to go to school? Carlos asked. I can't sit still today. I feel like running and jumping. Sounds like they're really excited to have a baby brother or sister, doesn't it? Grandma laughed. Your mama said you could stay home today, she said. The children clapped. Play with me, said Susita. Yes, there will be time for play, said Grandma, but Carlos and Marta have to do some work. We want to help, said Carlos. What can we do? First, said Grandma, you can eat some eggs and toast. After you get dressed, we will get to work. After they ate, Marta and Carlos helped clean up the table. Then they got dressed. Ready? Grandma handed Marta a rag. Would you dust, please? She asked. We want the baby's things to be clean. Yes, I will dust, said Marta. She went over to the baby's crib. This is a nice place for a baby, she said to herself. It is sunny and quiet. I think the baby will like it here. She dusted the crib well. Then she dusted the dresser and the rocker. She dusted under the window. Everything seemed to shine. Marta started to tell Grandma the work was done. Then she thought of one more thing. She ran over to her own dresser and picked up her stuffed bunny, Muff. She ran her hand over the silky fur. Muff had been hers since she was a baby. Marta put the bunny back on her dresser. Then she thought for a while. The baby might like to cuddle that silky fur. She picked up Muff and ran to the baby's crib. She set Muff in the crib. Okay, now we're on the second part. It's called Meeting the Baby. The phone rang. Marta heard Grandma say, "Thank the Lord. I am so glad." Marta smiled at Carlos. Carlos grabbed Susita's hand. They ran to Grandma. "Is the baby born?" asked Carlos. Grandma held the phone so they could hear. "Marta, Carlos, Susita, you have a little brother named Pedro." Papa said over the phone, "Mama and baby are fine." Susita clapped her hands. Carlos hopped, and Marta smiled. "When can we see him?" asked Marta. "Abuelo and Abuela will bring you after supper," said Papa. It was hard to wait. Marta and Carlos could not eat much supper. Susita made up a tune. "Baby is here, baby is here," she sang. At last, Grandpa drove them to the hospital. Mama was sitting up in bed. She held a little bundle in a blue blanket. "Pedro is sleeping," she said. "Would you like to peek?" Marta, Carlos, and Susita gazed at the tiny face. "Hi, little brother," said Marta. Marta, Carlos, and Susita gazed at the tiny face. "Hi, little brother." Oh, sorry, I read that already. The baby wiggled and lifted his hand a little. "I think he's waving at us," said Carlos. Mama and Papa laughed. "He's opening his eyes," said Grandma. "I think he's waking up." "Mama, will you put Pedro in my arms?" asked Marta. Mama smiled. "Yes, sit here in the rocker," she said. Marta held the blue bundle. "Pedro, I want to tell you some things," she said. "You have some nice things waiting for you at home. You have a sunny window and a clean crib. You have a nice mama and papa. You have a sweet abuela and abuelo. You have 2 sisters named Marta and Susita. You have a big brother named Carlos. And you have a bunny named Muff." "But Marta, Muff is your bunny," said Mama. "No," said Marta. "I gave him to Pedro. He will need him more than I do." Mama put her hand on Marta's. "That was sweet of you," she said. "I think Pedro will like Muff." "Pedro has a little smile on his face," said Carlos. "See, he is thinking of Muff." Marta giggled. "Pedro likes his gift," she said. Okay, so let's go to our reading workbook. And we're going to look at page 95, okay? And on 95, on the top, if you need time, pause and go get it. On the top, there are 5 different parts. There's 2 columns, 1 column here, 1 column there, and 5 things in each column. So we need to match to make the sentences complete. So let's read the first one on the left. Says, "Papa was taking Mama." So before we even read the right side, we know where he was taking her, right? Where was he taking her? To the hospital. So let's scan our finger down like this to find where it says to the hospital. So the first one in the baby's crib, eggs and toast, to the hospital, right there. It's the third one down on the right side. So draw a line from number 1, Papa was taking Mama. Draw a line to the hospital. All right, good job. Number 2, Grandma made. Do you remember what Grandma made for the children? Okay, let's see if we can find it. The first one, in the baby's crib. No, that sounds silly. The second one, eggs and toast. Did Grandma make eggs and toast? Yes, she did. So draw a line across from Grandma made to eggs and toast. Okay, number 3 says, Marta put Muff. Where did Marta put Muff? In the crib, right? So let's see if we can find that. The very first one says, in the baby's crib. Number 4, Papa wanted Marta to, okay, when he left in the morning, he wanted her to what? So let's see, the last 2 say to be born. Nope, she was already born. And then the last one says, go back to sleep. Yes, Papa wanted Marta to go back to sleep. So draw a line from Papa wanted Marta to, and then to go back to sleep. And then the last one, the baby was going, and the only one left is to be born. Good job. Okay, it says read each question, color the bubble beside the correct answer. If you want to do each one on your own and then come back and do it together, you can pause. That is absolutely fine. I know some of you like to do things on your own, and that's great. But if you want to stay with me and not pause, that's fine too. So the first question says, why did Carlos and Marta clean up the table? And here are our choices. They were going to eat, or they were finished eating. So when do you clean up the table? When you're finished eating, right? So the second one gets filled in, the second bubble. Okay, let's go next to it, not down, but next to it. It says, when did Mama and Papa go to the hospital? Okay, it says in the night or in the morning. Well, it really was in the night, even though it seemed like it was in the morning. They have it in the night here. So let's go back, because I think it was in the morning. But it says, even in the dark. Okay, so on the first page it says, even in the dark, she thought Papa was smiling. So even though she wasn't able to fall back to sleep, she must have been laying there a while because it was dark. So yes, it was in the night, not in the morning. Okay, then go to the next row, and the first question on the left says, why did Mama and Papa go to the hospital? And the choices are, Mama was having a baby, Mama was going to work. And we know that Mama was having a baby. Good job. So color in that circle. Okay, the next one on the right in the middle. Why was Grandma clattering the pans? Okay, your choices are, she was mopping the floor, or she was making eggs and toast. And we know she was making eggs and toast. Good job. Okay, the bottom questions, the one on the left said, why would the baby like Muff? And your choices are, Muff was furry, Muff was sticky. Muff wasn't sticky, he was furry. So color in that one. And then the last question, why did Grandma give Marta a rag? The choices are to dry the dishes or to dust the baby's things. And we know that Marta dusted the baby's things. Good job. Okay, the back says, draw a picture of a toy you have had since you were a baby. And then underneath it, it says, what do you call this toy? So my kids, I think I've told you this before, each have a special thing. And they pretend like they don't anymore, but I always know they're in their beds all the time and I see them. So Ryan has a Clifford that we got at Kohl's when he was first born. He was just a couple weeks old. And we got him a Clifford, and he loved Clifford. He loved the show, and he loved the stuffed animal. And that's not the one I have in my classroom. That's the second one. The one he has a lot of love. It looks like it's falling apart. Our dog actually chewed the paw, and I actually had to put a beanbag in there and sew it up so it still had the squishy beanbag feeling of it. But he survived, and it's been 17 years. Emily has a tiger that we got her. My mom got her when she was first born, and she still has that. She even brought it with her to college and now has brought it home with her, and that's in her bed every day too, and that has a lot of love in it too. So what was your toy or something that you got or that you have that's very special to you? Just like Marta has Muff, that's very special to her. So draw a picture of it and then tell me what you call it. And tomorrow we'll do the other worksheet. Have a great day. I'll see you later.